So welcome to Tuesday of our last week of Lizard Week. Yesterday's video got cut out a little bit, so I do want to talk a little bit about our math that we lost yesterday at first, so that I know that we have all of our math terminology up to date. So we started learning a little bit about fractions, and when we have a full piece that we can cut into two parts, that makes a half. When we have a full piece that we can cut into three equal parts, that makes a thirds, 3/3. And when we have a full piece that we can cut into four equal parts, like quarters in a dollar, that's what we call fourths. So yesterday, we were identifying whether or not shapes were broken into equal pieces like fractions. This one we said, no way, not a fraction, not fourths, because they're not all equal sizes. This one we said looked very good, those are halves. This circle we said, no way, those are not equal. This triangle's not cut in half. We did say that this square, those are 4/4. And this rectangle, those are 3/3. So we can do halves, thirds, and fourths to make our equal fractions. And we also cut up some different shapes. We cut up hearts into equal halves and stars. We did thirds with circles and triangles. We did fourths with kites, which is the same as like a rhombus, and also squares. So you can cut all sorts of different shapes into halves, thirds, and fourths. So today's lesson we are going to continue to talk about fractions, but I just wanted to highlight yesterday's points because, like I said, I had some camera difficulties with the recording, and I know I got cut off in the middle of the Zoom after our reading. So today we're going to start off with our lizard book, and we're going to turn to the back of our book to the glossary. And I know this is a nonfiction text because it has this awesome glossary in the back with some really important definitions. So first we're gonna look on page 32 and read some of these definitions in case these are words we haven't already seen in some of our readings. The first word is camouflage, which we didn't necessarily see in Turtle Week, but I know I read camouflage in Cheetah Week. Camouflage is an animal's natural color or shape that helps it hide from an enemy. A mate. A mate is a partner to have babies with. A predator. An animal that eats other animals. The prey. An animal that is eaten by other animals. Poisonous. That's a new one this week. Something that can cause hurt, illness, or even death. And scales, some hard plates that cover the skin. Okay, so these are going to be our 6 definitions. As we reread our story today, I am going to stop and talk about what we call our tail terms. So as we're reading through the book this time, you're going to see these are called little sidebars. It's a different type of text feature in a nonfiction, and it's giving you little definitions as we read. So we want to make sure if ever there's a word that we're unsure about and you see one of these terms or a little sidebar, we want to focus on that to make sure we have the right definition. But before we get started, I do want to tell a little story about lizards with some of our words too. Lizards are reptiles. Most of them like to spend their time on land. Lizards live in many different habitats. Some live in areas that are warm and dry, such as deserts. Others prefer to live in warm, moist places, such as the rainforest. Lizards choose to live in warm places because they are cold-blooded and cannot keep their bodies warm on their own. There are over 4,000 different species of lizards. Lizards come in all shapes and sizes. Some are very small, while others can be as long as a small car. They can also be different colors besides just green and brown. Some lizards can even change colors, so they have better camouflage when they're hiding from predators. A lizard's body, oh, here we got Gemma coming. A lizard's body has scales all over it, and they help to protect its skin. Lizards also have tails that can help them move and can sometimes help them keep off a predator. They also have very sharp claws. A lizard's diet usually is made up of insects such as ants, flies, and spiders. They will also eat animals such as snails and slugs. There are even some that may eat fruits and vegetables. However, larger lizards like a Komodo dragon will eat bigger animals such as pigs, deer, and even sheep. So it depends on how big the lizard is for what size it's going to eat, but most lizards are omnivores. They might eat insects or animals as well as vegetation. So as we read today, we're going to focus on some of our vocabulary facts, which is why I read that side story. So I'm going to start off on page 4 with what am I? I can be as big as a table. I can be as small as a pin. I can swim, glide, or run. My skin is smooth, bumpy, or even thorny. What am I? A lizard. And in this picture here, you can see this is a thorny devil. That would not be fun to step on without shoes. Reptiles. Lizards come in different colors. They come in different shapes, but all lizards are reptiles. A reptile has dry skin with scales. It usually lays eggs on land. It has a backbone. Turtles, snakes, crocodiles, and tortoises are also reptiles. We have a Baja blue rock lizard, a leopard tortoise, a corn snake, which I'm trying to see if I can get our corn snake out to show you guys. Trying. And a Nile crocodile. And here's our first tail term. Scales. Small, hard plates that cover the skin. Has anybody ever touched, raise your hand if you've touched a snake or a turtle shell, lizard? Okay, so if you touch them, sometimes it looks like on a snake, it looks like it might be like slimy, but actually those scales aren't slimy. They are small hard plates, and they cover and they help keep moisture in, but they also help to keep it safe. But it's very, very important when you're petting any reptile to know which direction to pet it with, okay? But usually when you get to go to a zoo or something and you actually get to touch them, the holder or the handler of that animal, they'll show you how to. A reptile doesn't make its own body heat. To warm up, it lies in the sun. To cool down, it lies in the shade. Most lizards live in warm places. They live in the desert and by the sea. They live in forests and mountains. Lizards live on every continent except Antarctica. So you can see this beach iguana, and sometimes you can even see them swimming in the ocean. And this is called a monitor. There's lots of different types of monitors. So these lizards, they're very different than humans. When we get cold, we might get goosebumps and we start to shake and we're able to warm ourselves up a little bit. Lizards are not able to do that. So they are very, very different. They have to actually go out into the sun to warm up, or if they're too hot, they have to go into the shade to cool off. They can't regulate like we can, like mammals. Scaly skin. Lizard skin can be smooth and shiny. It can be bumpy or spiky, but every lizard has tiny scales. Scales protect lizards. They keep a lizard's body from getting hurt. They keep a lizard warm. Scales keep a lizard from losing water too. So thousands of scales just on their head here, you can see. Even on their eyelid, thousands of them. And that's one of the ways you can tell the difference between legless lizards and snakes. You can see, do they have eyelids or do they not have eyelids? Super lizards. These are almost like their magical superpowers. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's a lizard? Check out these lizard superpowers. The Draco lizard. And I love some of these names. They remind me of Harry Potter names. The Draco lizard is also called the flying dragon. You can see why. It glides through the air. Its folds of skin look like wings. The basilisk lizard. This lizard runs on water, and it's fast too. Its long back toes keep it from sinking. The gecko lizard. The gecko lizard can walk on walls and ceilings. Special hairs on its feet make it stick to surfaces. And the marine iguana. This lizard is a great swimmer. Its powerful tail helps it swim and dive. So they're all very different. Their bodies are made to help them survive where they're living. Mealtime. Most lizards are meat eaters. They snack on bugs. They eat small animals. So it might not say it here, but we know from our previous turtle and cheetah week that if it's a meat eater, that means it's a carnivore. Some are plant eaters. They munch on flowers. They also eat fruits and leaves. We know if it's just a plant eater, that makes it an herbivore. This chameleon has a long, sticky tongue. It shoots out in a flash. The tongue grabs a bug. Yum, it's dinner time. If we have a lizard or a chameleon that might eat bugs and leafy greens, that would make it an omnivore if it eats both. So carnivores only meat, herbivores only vegetation, only green stuff, and omnivores, they eat both. So lizards can be any of the three. Here's their babies. Almost all lizards hatch from eggs. Only a few lizards are born live. A mother lizard lays her eggs, then she leaves. Most lizard parents don't take care of their young. Baby lizards can take care of themselves. So this is very, very different than the other cheetahs that we learned about. We know that baby cheetahs, they stay with their moms for up to 2 years. They play with their brothers and sisters and learn how to hunt and how to take care of themselves. But lizards, once those eggs are laid and then hatched, that mom lizard, she's gone. So those lizards have to learn how to eat on their own, how to hunt on their own, and how to survive. So lizards, they're, once they hatch, on their own. And that's a picture of an iguana. It's very similar to our baby turtles. Remember how the turtles get hatched on the beach and then they swim off to sea? That's when they're on their own as well. Legless lizards. Did you know some lizards don't have legs? Legless lizards look like snakes. You have to look closely to tell them apart. But legless lizards have eyelids that move. They also have ear holes. Snakes don't have these. So if you look, it looks like they both have scales because we have snakes and legless lizards. But the legless lizard has an ear hole here that they can actually hear. The snake does not. The legless lizard also has an eyelid, so they're able to blink like we can. Snakes do not. So there's two big changes that can tell you if you're looking at a snake versus a legless lizard. Hide and seek. Can you find the lizards? Lizards are good at hiding. They can look like trees, leaves, flowers, and rocks. They can look like moss and sand too. Camouflage keeps lizards safe. Predators can't see them. Here we have two tail terms. Camouflage, an animal's natural color or shape that helps it hide from the enemy. So if you look at this picture really close, that looks like a leaf, but it's really a lizard. Miracle, do you have a question?
I know the lizard's body and the head, but its tail looks like a real leaf.
It does. And its eyes, like if you look at its eyes, even the pattern of it looks like it. Pretty neat. Here's another tail term, predator. A predator is an animal that eats other animals. Look at me. But lizards don't always hide. Lizards like to show off too. They want to get noticed by a mate. Tail term, mate. A partner to have babies with. This is a common forest lizard. You can see the beautiful colors. It goes from like red and orange to green and lime green and some yellow. It's beautiful. We know some chameleons, they actually can change colors based off of what they're behind so that they can blend into their background. They can camouflage. Some proudly show off their colorful skin. Some sing, some lizards just try to look big and strong. So all of these ways that they can change, they might look really big, they might puff up their neck, they might sing a beautiful song. All of these different changes that they can do, that's how they attract a mate in the lizard world. Great escapes, some a little scary. These lizards scare off their enemies. They make a quick getaway. A nasty trick. I don't love this one. The horned toad lizard shoots blood from its eyes. But this lizard's not hurt. It's just a trick to scare off a predator. The Gila. The Gila monster is a poisonous lizard. Its bite is painful. It can make other animals sick. So if you see a Gila monster, you do not want to be near it because it is poisonous. A lot of times they say if things are black and yellow like that, like bumblebees or maybe not a bumblebee, but a hornet, that's how you know it could have some poison. Miracle?
If they shoot blood out of their eyes, probably the animals that hurt them could hurt them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they won't be safe.
I think if I saw something that I was trying to eat shooting blood out of its eye, I would be like, oh, I don't want to eat that anymore. So it might take the predator and might make the predator think that it's already too damaged. It might be sick and I don't want to eat it. It doesn't look good anymore. Not too appetizing. A scary costume. This one makes me think of Jurassic Park. The frilled lizard puffs out its collar. It stands on its back legs and hisses loudly. It runs fast. And losing a tail. An animal bites a gecko's tail. The tail falls off. The enemy watches it twitch on the ground. And the lizard can escape. A new tail will grow back in its place. So there's some lizards that are able to regenerate if their tail gets bit off. And there's actually some crustaceans under the ocean that can do that as well. So that's a pretty neat thing that they can do so that if a predator comes, they don't have to worry, you know, if just their tail gets bit off that they're gonna get completely eaten. If their tail gets bit off, they gotta get out of there because that predator might just eat their tail because it's still wiggling around a little bit and then they're still safe and can grow a new one. So here we have a new tail term, poisonous. Poisonous, something that can cause hurt, illness, or death. So just because something's poisonous doesn't mean if you get bit or stung by it, you're going to die. Some things, they might pack that much poison that it is super, super dangerous, but sometimes it just might make you a little bit hurt or it might make you a little bit sick, but it all depends on what the animal is. Go ahead, Miracle.
Last time at my house, when my family was cutting the grass, there was like a lot of plants. We had to take them out, and me and my sister were playing with them. Mommy was getting worried because she said some plants are poisonous.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
The
so
plants by the house, we were touching them without grass, but we had to wash our hands.
So a poison plant is a little different than a lizard that has poison in it. So a poison plant, if you get those oils from the plant on your skin, a lot of times you get like bubbles on it that's so itchy, like a bug bite, and it can cover you in a rash that's really itchy. So it's the oils that get on you that make that that poison really itchy. So it's really important to know what a poison plant looks like so you know not to touch it. Some people are very allergic to poison plants, and if they get a little bit on their hand, their whole arm might break out, so it could be super dangerous. Go ahead.
I'm allergic to mosquitoes.
Oh, I hate when I get mosquito bites, that's for sure.
This last time, because when I'm outside blowing bubbles, there's like mosquitoes and flies out there, but the mosquitoes bite me and I don't feel anything.
Ah, well, do you get really itchy when they bite you?
Yeah, last time there was bumps all on my leg.
And then sometimes you need cortisone cream to make it not so itchy. Yeah, I hear ya. All right, on page 26, biggest and smallest. I love this big picture of the Komodo. The biggest lizard is the Komodo dragon. An adult is longer than a picnic table. And here's a tail term, prey, an animal that's eaten by another animal. And you can see 10 feet long. That's like 2 of me put together. I'm like a little taller than 5 foot. If I was standing, 2 whole Miss Seagreaves is on top. That's how long a Komodo dragon is, from their tip of their nose all the way to their tail. That's huge. It has sharp claws and teeth. It eats large prey like water buffalo. It sometimes eats other Komodo dragons. The smallest lizard is the dwarf gecko. It's a little more than ½ an inch long. That's about the size of a push pin. And it's actually, for me, it's really close to the size of like my pinky nail here. So it's kind of close to the size of my pinky. There's that little baby one right there in black. That's the size that they actually are in nature. Lots of lizards. There are more than 3,000 kinds of lizards on Earth. They are each special in their own way. Let's hear it for lizards. We have Asian water monitors, skink lizards, leopard geckos, green tree monitors, and a lizard on her face. What in the world? And we did these definitions yesterday. These pictures show close-up views of lizardy things. Use the hints below to figure out what's in the pictures. So this first one we said yesterday was a lizard hand. It can grip a rock or branch easily, and even on their fingers, you can see their scales all the way down to their fingertips. Next is their scales. These protect lizards in many ways. They help keep moisture and water in, but they're hard, so they help keep dangerous things out. Go ahead, Miracle.
I can't really see you.
You can't see me? Is there something going on with your phone?
My uncle's phone, I don't know.
Can you still hear me okay?
Yeah?
Okay. I'm still on page 30, okay? So we'll just have to listen along. But I can still see you, so if you raise your hand, I'll know you have a question. Number 3, some lizards have one that grows back, and we know that's a tail. Number 4, gecko feet stick to walls and ceilings. That's how that helps them climb. Number 5, not all lizards catch food with their tongue. This one does not. And number 6, Like you, lizards have a lid to cover this, their eye. All lizards have an eyelid. So those are all of our awesome lizard definitions for today. We know that lizards have so many different varieties on our planet, and it's very interesting to study each different kind. So as we're thinking about our painting of our rocks for Thursday, try to think about the different opportunities for the different scale colors or different ways we can paint for Thursday. Next, we're going to be switching over to math, and we're going to talk still a little bit about our fractions, but I want to think about, as we talk about our fractions, how we know, get one of my highlighters here. How do I know if I'm going to be doing something? There we go. That's a half of. If you hear the words half of, show me on your fingers, half of. What does that mean? How many pieces for a fraction for half of? If you have halves, how many pieces make one whole? Halves. I should see 2 fingers. 2 halves make one whole. So if I have a half of something and I want to shade it green, for example, this is a half of my rectangle. I cut it into 2 equal pieces. That's the important piece here. If you're dealing with fractions, they have to be equal sized pieces. So first I cut them into 2 pieces and I shaded 1 green. That's a half of my rectangle's green. Next, I want to talk about a third of something being green. If I want to do a third, show me on your fingers how many pieces. A third. Third. Yep, you should have 3 fingers up. Third. So a third's a little more tricky because I can't just draw a line down the center. I actually need to imagine 3 equal pieces here. So I'm going to cut it into 3, and then I'm going to just shade 1 of them. This is showing a third of my rectangle is green. And what you can notice, a third is actually smaller than a half. If I have 3 pieces and I have 2 pieces of the same original rectangle, the third is going to be smaller because my whole piece is cut into more of it. And lastly, we have fourths. So fourths are a little easier. First, we can cut it in half and have 2, but then we can cut each of those in half again. So now I have fourths. And if I wanted to color 1/4, I would just color 1 of my rectangles. So you can see a fourth is way smaller than a half. It's actually half of a half, because if I colored 2 of these, 2/4, I would have a half again, which is super, super neat. We can have equivalent or equal fractions later on when we learn more. So we have a half of a rectangle, it's 1 out of 2. A third of a rectangle is 1 out of 3, and a fourth of a rectangle is 1 out of 4. Now it doesn't matter which one you color. If I ask you to color a half of a rectangle and you color the second one instead and leave the first one open, that's okay. That's totally fine. If I ask you to color a fourth and you color the third one, totally up to you. But when we're coloring a fourth, that means 1/4. So you can only color 1 of those pieces. Okay? Alrighty, friends?
There. Can you see it now?
See.
They'll be able to see you.
Hey, Gemma.
You didn't do your camera.
I can see you, Gemma.
Why is
Alrighty.
it only showing the one little girl?
It's not showing me?
Why is it not showing the teacher?
Hold on, let me see here. Still?
Participants 5. We need to click on.
How about now?
No.
Is that one working?
Oh, there she is.
Now it is.
There you go. Now
Okay,
you got her.
good. Okay. So we were just talking a little bit about our fractions. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not sure if you saw these. So we were talking about a half of a rectangle here. So I shaded 1/2 green. So halves mean 2 parts make a whole. I shaded 1/3. A third of a rectangle means I have 3 equal pieces, and I shade one of them, 1/3. And I have 4 equal pieces if I'm looking at a fourth. So I put 4 pieces and I shaded one of them, okay? So these are the fractions we're starting off with for going into 3rd grade. You guys are gonna be way ahead of the curve when learning about fractions, okay? So we have 2 more days left, which is kind of a bummer. We're going to hopefully get to see a corn snake. I'm hopeful. We're going to finish up tomorrow learning about lizard body parts. Then Thursday we're gonna paint. I know some of you had talked about your little bottles that came in your red bag. So I wanted to talk about that real quick. I totally forgot I put those in your bags because I handed those bags out like, I don't know, a month ago or something like that. So you probably have a clear bottle with a green lid in your bag. And in there you probably also have a little Ziploc bag with either glitter or little orbs in it or little glow-in-the-dark powder. What you can do with that is actually a cool down jar. So it's really nice for mindfulness. So let's say we're in the middle of summer school and our brother and sister is a little bit loud and it's a little hard to hear everybody. So I'm getting, my brain's getting a little worked up and I'm getting a little stressed out. I can make a cool down jar from that jar and that little Ziploc bag to help me relax again. So what you do is you can put all of the things from that Ziploc bag into the bottle. Be very careful, and then put some water. Then ask mom or dad to help you really tighten the jar lid really, really well. And if you shake it up, you're going to see you might have one with orbs and glitter, or you might have, there's 2 different varieties of what you can put in, but you can put everything from the bag in there. And then you'll see the rainbow explosion. And that's what happens sometimes when we're really stressed out. We have all of these emotions going on at the same time, and it's a lot of chaos happening. And as you watch, when you shake that jar up really, really, really nuts, eventually when you watch, all of that glitter, it's going to start to settle down. And hopefully as you're watching it settle, your emotions can start to settle too. So a cool down jar is a really neat option, especially to have at home when we have to do all this virtual learning, because you might not have a quiet space to always go like you did in the classroom. If you are having like a stressed out time. So a cool down jar, that's why we put it in your red bag, so you can build it for yourselves. Okay, let's see. Go ahead, Miracle.
Can you drink in this bottle too?
Not when you put the stuff in it. If you put the glitter in it, don't drink out of it. But if you don't want to put the glitter in it and you just want to use it as a water bottle, that's fine. Okay. Caden? Did you build yours yet? Not yet.
I can't find it.
Okay. Also in your bags, I put in a mindfulness journal. So those journals are there for you. Every day I put out a mindfulness story. I'm not sure if you guys are going onto the Google Classroom to watch my stories about Diggory, but I know Gemma's watching them. Those Diggory stories are all about neat mindfulness. Those are kind of like our class meeting stories that I would read if we were together in person. And those are a great way for you to write in your mindfulness journals. So each day, if you want to watch one of those videos I post on the Google Classroom, today's I think is about kindness. Yesterday's maybe was about siblings. They're all different types of fun topics. And then you can write what those books make you think about. Sometimes I ask questions at the end. And those journals are there for you. So everything that was in that red bag, that's stuff for you to keep through the summer. And when you go back to school, Obviously now we know we have to go back online a little bit. So when you go back online, those are materials you can use to help with you when you're learning with your teacher. You can use those whiteboards to show while you're Zooming with your 3rd grade teachers, and that will be helpful if you need that mindfulness, that cool down jar. You can certainly use it for that too. Okay? Miracle?
Is it like when that mindfulness teacher I took that it puts like that thing in the jar and then she let us shake it up and then it turns to glitter and then like a tornado?
Yeah. It's kind of like that. It depends on which one you have. I'm not sure which one you got, but everybody got one that has some pretty cool things that you put inside. So it'll do that same thing. It'll get very wild inside when you first shake it, and then it will cool back down and calm down as you let it relax. Okay? All right, ladies and gentlemen, so that's the end for today. I really hope you guys are staying safe in this storm today. I know it is raining like crazy here. I have some water in my basement downstairs, so we're trying to make sure we're staying safe here on this side of Allentown. I hope you guys are safe, and I will check back with you tomorrow at noon. And we only have 2 more days. I'm kind of bummed, but 2 more awesome days, okay, friends? So we'll see you tomorrow.